Good evening and welcome into the Pacers Podcast Show. I'm Kyle Newman, your host.
And I'm Rhett Hensley, your co-host.
We have a great lineup for the next hour. We will talk about the Pacers' latest offseason news, Roy Hibbert, David West, and the first 3 Summer League games. Rhett Hensley, 20th Pacers Podcast Show, almost your birthday age. That's coming up here. That's how many Pacers shows we've done. You're turning 20 here pretty soon, and we're a little late to the party tonight. We have other obligations with work and all, but we were able to squeeze.
You throw me a surprise party?
I will. I will.
Well, now you just blew the surprise.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. Sometimes surprises are meant to be broken. But basically, Rhett, we're rolling. It's a little later tonight, but we've got our juice. We got our good stuff. We're ready to talk Pacers basketball. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing just peachy.
That's great. I heard
I'm a little sore.
You're sore. I heard you played a little basketball yourself tonight.
Yes, and I hooped. But,
hooped.
Not to brag or anything, but,
No, not to boast or anything, or toot your own horn, but you played well.
One could say.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I literally, we played with a bunch of, 7-footers in, 2 games.
Now that's an exaggeration.
All right, it's a little, actually, one of them was 7 foot. One of them, honest to God, was 7 foot, and they were all brothers.
All brothers.
I called them the Zeller brothers, but
That's
it was
funny.
literally like the Monstars versus Bugs Bunny and his crew. It was bad. Bringing back the Space Jam reference.
I love any Space Jam reference, Rhett. I really do.
I do too.
I really do. Well, let's get into the first segments here. Really, the first 3 segments are all pretty much Pacers offseason news, Rhett, but let's start it off kind of where we were kicking it off last week with kind of the biggest headline for the Pacers so far, and that was the Monta Ellis signing. It really allows the Pacers to move into the future, and I just wanted to get some more of your thoughts on this guy because I've read some things. Will he be a help for the Pacers? Is it what the Indiana needs to get over the hump? Rhett, what do you think? Is this the guy to get Indiana over the hump?
I think that he's going to be one of those guys that's sure as heck going to help, especially if they're going to be playing small ball. And, from what we've heard, that is what is more than likely going to happen. And, he's not a great defender, and that's kind of the bad part because you're going to need a good...
That's kind of been his downside throughout his career.
Yeah, I mean, he averages almost 2 steals a game, but, he does lack defense. But he does make it up on the offensive side. He averaged 18.9 points a game and 4.1 assists a game. That's not too bad. But if you're going to be playing small ball, you got to have everybody up on their toes against these big teams. So,
that's right.
I think that he is going to make a major impact. But I don't really think that he's going to be one of the biggest impacts the Pacers have this offseason.
Well, that's interesting. I'll be curious to find out who you think will. But you hit it right when you said
it's a nail in the coffin.
That's right. You hammered the nail into the wood when you said that Monta Ellis struggles a bit on defense, and I think that's where a lot of fans are iffy about this pickup. Is what does he bring on defense because he struggled there, but he's going, let's face it, to an Indiana Pacers team where they thrive on defense. That's their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense leads to their offense. So you have to think that Frank Vogel will make Monta Ellis better on defense. But what's really key is how much he's improved on offense. His 3-point percentage is at an all-time career high coming this past year. He had almost 20 points per game average. And this is impressive. Just 2 years ago, Ellis led all NBA players in total drives and total points on drives. That's impressive. And you add that to Paul George, who's coming back and looking to be healthy. He can handle the ball well. He is constantly attacking. I really think that this guy is going to add an offensive, let's just say, another offensive weapon that the Pacers really will need and will utilize, Rhett. It's going to be very key what this guy does. But basically, he brings this. I found this interesting here, how Grantland Zach Lowe explained Monte Ellis to the Pacers. In the Monte Ellis brings some slicing off the bounce dynamism these guys badly need. And the Pacers are better equipped than almost anyone to hide him on defense. George Hill can defend most shooting guards, meaning the Pacers can shift Ellis around to the weakest perimeter player more freely than Dallas could. George has never been a great arc-to-rim driver, and though Hill excelled last season under a heavier scoring load, he can munch on spot-up looks when Ellis runs possessions. Rhett, I really agree with that, how he adds that flexibility to the Pacers' offense and defense. Offensively, he's going to help fill some of those holes that George or Hill struggles with. Do you agree with that?
Exactly. Hill, he's not bad on defense, as you said. But get him. The thing is, one of those two I think is going to have to be playing the backup role, and obviously I think it's going to be George Hill, unless they end up playing George Hill at the point guard position, which might happen unless we have this Joe Young guy that's been killing it so far step in and take over that position, which I think potentially could happen. The guy is incredible. What a steal. But, the flexibility that both of them add, I think is going to be great for the offense, The thing is, with Indiana, they've struggled with scoring, and it showed on the leaderboard for that. And I think that Monte Ellis is going to bring a great package to that.
Yeah,
it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, no doubt about that. Basically, not Ellis was the big offseason move for the Pacers, but then there's been some more recently. How about re-signing Mr. Rodney Stuckey? I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
We're stuck on Stuckey.
That's right, and I'm glad that we are stuck on Stuckey. Bringing him back when a lot of fans thought that he was gone, including you, I think. Bringing Rodney back is just another weapon to this Pacers team, Rhett. Offensively, Rodney Stuckey comes into the game, and wow, you add Stuckey and Ellis and George and Hill. I mean, it's really starting to come together here for the Pacers, and they still have money. What do you think about Stuckey back?
The thing is, how I said that, I didn't think that we were going to get him back. That was one of the things. If we didn't get rid of Roy, I highly doubt we would have been able to afford him. But good thing we were able to afford him, Kyle.
Oh yeah.
Tell you what. But
he helped. He proved last year the type of player he still is.
I can tell you right now, and my prediction is he's going to be Sixth Man of the Year.
I love it.
He was in the running last year, but I think that if he's healthy this year, he is going to impact that Pacers bench like no other.
I completely agree with that, and I'm really happy to see him back, and I think it shows the loyalty as to the Pacers. He doesn't want to give up on this thing. I think he sees it, and maybe it was, wow, Ellis back. That's enticing. Or Ellis coming here. That's really enticing. Hibbert gone. That's enticing. Maybe he's like, new team here. Miles Turner likes the draft. I think that really ultimately, Rhett, what it is just goes to show how much of a genius Larry Bird is. This man knows how to be an executive. I tell you what, you want to talk about the great businessmen? How about an underrated Larry Bird? That's what he is. He is a great businessman. It's like it was part of his plan all along, and he develops these good relationships with the players, Rhett. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that really helps in trying to keep them here or bring people here. It's like he's a good salesman.
Yeah, that's why he got Executive of the Year a couple of years ago.
That's right.
That's because he brings that, and he shows the Pacers his loyalty. He shows the Pacers players that he is there for them, and that's why he's a great executive.
Yeah, absolutely. And Red, I wanted to talk to you about this. I stumbled upon an article in the IndyStar.com. Quite honestly, I disagreed with this man's take. Basically, Michael Pena of Sports on Earth does not like what the Pacers have done, thinks that they're going about it all wrong. And I want you to comment on it, and we'll talk a little bit about what he said. Basically, he said Ellis is a confusing addition on a team that should be looking to rebuild around George. Giving him a long-term deal doesn't make a lot of sense. Ellis was vilified as a chucker before entering one of the most competent and complementary environments in the league 2 seasons ago. Rick Carlisle and Dirk Nowitzki gave Ellis spacing and one of the best pick-and-roll partners in basketball history. Ellis isn't talented enough to make a bad offense good. He makes a good offense better. The Pacers have no big men who can sniff Nowitzki's ability to drag big men out to the perimeter after setting a high screen, allowing defenses to either trap pick and rolls or sag the screener's man back and goad Ellis into pulling up for a mid-range jumper. So that's what he had to say about Ellis. What do you think about that? That sounds pretty disrespectful to me.
I disagree with that, mainly because, the new addition to the Indiana Pacers, Miles Turner, tell you what, he's definitely going to be dragging people off the inside.
You better believe it. Kind of reminds me of a Dirk a lot.
Yes, and his turnaround jump shot is just phenomenal.
It is.
Just phenomenal. Watching him in the summer league games was great.
Yeah, that'll be fun to get to.
Yes, it will. But, I think that is just absurd. Ellis, he's going to bring more than what that guy is, saying that he's going to do. I think that it's going to be a tough adjustment between the Pacers players. Paul George, that's his team. I think Ellis is going to understand that. And, just like the Cavs did not play well at the beginning. Chemistry takes a little bit. You just don't walk into a team and build that chemistry. And, you got to learn how each player is going to play. And I think the Indiana Pacers and Frank Vogel is going to do that, and they're going to mesh well.
I agree.
They're going to create opportunities for Ellis and George and really just the whole team.
I just can't believe the disrespectful statement. Ellis isn't talented enough to make a bad offense good. First of all, did you see the numbers Ellis put up last year and over his career? To say that he isn't talented enough is pretty asinine. Second of all, it might even be more asinine to say that the Pacers' offense is bad. First of all, they were still like 20th in the league last year with the star out and Stevenson gone, a team shaken up. And how about the years before? Their offense wasn't good enough to get them to the conference finals 2 out of 3 years. Red,
well,
that's just disrespectful.
Now the offense, I can somewhat agree on that.
Not
the
bad.
Offense for
it's not bad.
It's not awful, but it's not. We don't have one of the best in the league, obviously.
But our defense is good enough to make our offense acceptable. So to say that our offense is bad is just disrespectful.
But now that with Roy Hibbert gone, the big anchor down low, I kind of see where he's going to be coming from because the defense might drop down. And you got to have somebody to compensate for that on the offensive side, which I disagree with him because I think Ellis is going to make a huge impact on the offense. So, don't really see where he's coming from on some parts, but I can agree with him on a little bit of it.
Well, let's see if you agree with him on this, because then he chimed in on Rodney Stuckey, our latest signee. And then there's Rodney Stuckey, who they brought back on a 3-year, $21 million deal. This is the same contract the Los Angeles Lakers have agreed to pay reigning Sixth Man of the Year Lou Williams. Instead of giving Ellis a 4-year deal with the player option after year 3, more money on a shorter contract would have been better. Why not just target Williams from the get-go? He's younger, cheaper, and less reliant on teammates to maintain stellar efficiency. That's what he had to say about Rodney Stuckey. Again, I think completely disrespectful, Brett. He may have been the sixth man of the year, but first of all, he was injured, and he's battled injury problems. Second of all, did he see what Rodney Stuckey did for us last year?
Yeah, phenomenal what he did for us. You can Lou Williams. He's been injured, obviously. He hasn't been the healthiest player, but on the side of it, as Rodney Stuckey was already with the team, what he did for Indiana and showing that he wanted to stay with Indiana, that shows right there. That's right there what would make me want to give him the contract over Lou Williams, because he meshes well with Indiana, and bringing in just a new guy off the street, I don't really agree with that.
Yeah,
So
he says Rodney Stuckey feels redundant, especially since he's a minus defender at any position, but the Pacers will need a lot of wings if they plan to go small a ton. I think I think it's disrespectful to a player who contributed so much to this Pacers team, and coming back, I think this Pacers team's just going to be even better on defense. They always are. It's the identity. Frank Vogel makes these players better defenders. They may be bad defenders or poor defenders coming to this team, but they aren't when they leave this team. And so I quite honestly, I think Zach Lowe might eat his words a little bit. Finally, he said the jury's still out on whether the Pacers will be seen as winners or losers in free agency. He said this is another roster that will feel unfinished until they ink one or two more big men to flesh out a thin front court. In the meantime, Monte Ellis brings some slicing off the bounce dynamism that they need, and they're better equipped than almost anyone to hide him on defense. So, as he talked about that, he's saying, big man. I agree with him with another big man, another big
Jordan
free
Hill.
agency move. Exactly. We've mentioned Jordan Hill. I do agree, but I don't know, Rhett. Do you agree that it will be unfinished if they can't get another big man or something? They have money that they'll get.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I mean, the Pacers desperately need another big man. Miles Turner, I think that he's being underestimated right here. The guy's a monster, and as I said last week, I think that he might take a couple of years, but showing the promise that he has in the summer league right now, I think that he's going to step into that role just fine. But the Indiana Pacers definitely need at least one more big man to fill that position, though.
I agree with it. I just think he's jumping the gun a little bit, and quite honestly, I think he's being disrespectful to the moves that have been made already for this team. And let's not forget, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a man flying under the radar? How about C.J. Miles? I expect big things from this man this year. This is a guy who was the most lethal three-point shooter on our team last year. Seemed to hit the biggest threes when it mattered. Had multiple, and I mean multiple 20-plus point games. This man might be, we're talking about these other guys, Stuckey, George, Ellis. Let's not forget C.J. Miles. This man may be the most important piece on this team next year, Rhett.
Yes, exactly. But one thing that I would like to throw out, as we were talking about big men, is Markieff Morris. There is a potential trade target for the Indiana Pacers to bring Markieff Morris in.
Now, here's the thing about him. I like him, but I think he has an attitude problem. He gives a good effort. He can extend the floor a bit because he can shoot from outside. The one thing that bothers me about him is he's a hothead. And that means he's going to get in foul trouble early. It also means he might have some chemistry issues with the team, the players, and the coaching staff. Rhett, that bothers me a little bit about that man. I've watched a lot of him for the Suns. What do you think about that?
Exactly. He is a hothead, but I think that he could bring in good play for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah. Well, hey, all it takes, one or two more pieces. And I definitely think that this is a win for the Pacers. Basically, The Pacers have moved up one spot in the power rankings from 20th to 19th now following these last moves with Rodney Stuckey. Again, basically what they have to say about it is Zach Lowe. This shakeup, while somewhat disappointing on its face, aligns closely with the organization's vision to match its style of play with its nickname. In time, Miles Turner, the number 11 pick in this year's draft, could fit comfortably into that mix as the more fleet-footed center that the Pacers would prefer in place of the plodding Hibbert, who we're about to get into. Rhett, I agree with him on those comments. Miles Turner, this man, boy, he really may not just be the great replacement for Hibbert. This could be the future here for the Pacers.
Exactly. He's a blocking machine, I'll tell you that.
He sure is. You can appreciate that. I wish I could.
I do appreciate that. But, he can grab rebounds. He can score. Exactly like you were talking about. Reminds me of Dirk Nowitzki. He's got a pure turnaround jumper. And that's what the Indiana Pacers need. And a guy that can shoot outside. And he'll be able to draw people out. And they'll be able to play that small ball.
That's right.
It's fantastic.
As we kind of mentioned there, that's what we have to talk about now. Roy Hibbert, man, a lot of fans have been pleading for him to go. It's finally happened, Rhett. He has been traded. He is going to the Lakers, and the Pacers have freed up $15.5 million, although they had to pay him a couple, so about $13.5. Nonetheless, the big man's gone, and the Pacers have money. They did sign Stuckey, so about $7 million left or so.
Actually, from what I was reading, the Indiana Pacers have right around $10 million to play around with after the Stuckey signing.
Okay.
And with the new salary cap move today, it should be right around there still, even though it went up.
That's perfect. Rhett, the slumping Roy Hibbert is gone. The Pacers now have money. What do you think? Hibbert's gone. You rejoice?
I am very excited about Hibbert being gone. I would like for the Indiana Pacers to bring in somebody like Jordan Hill to compensate that.
But, it would be nice. It would be nice.
But I do have something kind of funny.
Well,
he posted on Twitter. Posted on Twitter, I'm finally hanging out with the boys in L.A. And somebody tweeted at him, I hope you packed your bags.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but I'm glad he's out.
Yeah.
Indiana expected him to be out.
You did. Let's face it. He wasn't going to play a lot this season. He wasn't going to be happy about it. And basically, he was going to prevent the Pacers from replacing his salary with one or more players who can fill the team's depth. That's what he was going to do. So it had to happen. And quite honestly, I'm happy it happened too. It was time to move on. I gave the man too many chances. Let's face it, he's just declined since his peak. All he's known as anymore is a good defender still. That's it. The man has not improved a lot. His offensive game has declined, and his fatigue is still an issue. Foul trouble. The man, it was time to go. And basically that's very good for the Pacers. And don't you think, Red, a relief to the fans to have fresh faces in here, a new team? I think there's going to be a lot of energy.
I think there is too, and I'm just really excited about the Miles Turner addition. But yes. I think that everybody's gonna mesh well. Might take a few games, but the fans are going to be really excited.
They absolutely will. They will, and basically, I just think that with Roy Hibbert gone, new team here, the Pacers kind of a fresh start, kind of a new team, exactly what they need. Pacers fans can get pumped up. They can look now. Indiana can look to get
in the future.
That's right, the future, and it looks bright. And they have money. They can now get another free agent or two to help this team fit with the style of play that Bird and Vogel are looking for. I think it's going to bode well, Red. I quite honestly can't wait for it to get started. And I just wonder, will Roy Hibbert be successful in L.A.? Is it going to backfire against Indiana? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I think that I don't think it's going to backfire for Indiana. as we've seen before, Mike Dunleavy didn't play good with us.
That's right.
But we've seen him play good other places.
We have.
But
Gerald Green, another example.
yeah, exactly. And, he was just not a good fit for Indiana moving on. And, I think that him going to L.A., tell you what, Kobe will definitely rip into him. Kobe has no care about hurting your feelings. And he's definitely going to tell him how it is if he thinks he's playing like a wuss. Because he had no problem telling Swaggy P.
Exactly. Let's face it, Bird. We got the sense when the season ended that Hibbert was going to be gone after what he said to the press, but it was pretty much a given, Rhett, for Larry's new vision for the Pacers. You can't have a smaller, quicker style of play without getting rid of, with having this big man, especially how much he's declined.
Exactly. And another big man that I think that needs to be traded or something, which I don't think you could really get much out of him, is Jan Mahimi. I don't think that he's done great for Indiana. Moving on, but who else would we have for us to have as a backup? That's the thing.
That's right.
So we really need to look forward to trying to get somebody like Jordan Hill, which I have seen reports by a couple places that Indiana has been interested and is in like the top 5 for landing him. So
wow,
that could be very interesting.
Yes, it could. Basically, the details with the Hibbert trade, Indiana got cash and the future pick and return. I think that's where maybe a few extra million came in there of how it worked out, but they did get a future second-round pick out of the ordeal, Rhett, and they got an international player as well. Now,
it has not been fully announced what they're going to be dumping, because there have been also reports that the Lakers are trying to dump Swaggy P off. So there have been quite a few places thinking that Indiana is going to end up having Swaggy P on the team
I don't want
in
to
that trade. So it's definitely going to be interesting seeing this move forward, but I don't think that he's going to end up meshing well in the lineup, and I think that if Indiana did acquire him, that should just be an automatic trade, whether you get a gumball or a tennis shoe. It needs to happen because he will not mesh well with Indiana. He's a type of player like, who am I thinking of? Who just tosses the ball up. Man, he's not ringing a bell. But J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith.
That's what he
he's
reminds me of.
He's like a J.R. Smith player.
That's exactly what he reminds me of.
I don't like it.
I don't either. Don't want him. I think it would be a disaster for our team. Quite honestly, I think it would be a Gerald Green type of a situation that the Pacers had. Just will not work. And I don't want to see that happen. I would much rather see that nice, promising Jordan Hill player on that Lakers team come to Indiana. No doubt about that. That will be very intriguing, Rhett, to see how these talks turn out with this. But the Pacers got something out of Hibbert. It wasn't nothing, but basically they had to get him out of here and free up that money. Let's face it. That's what Indiana really needed to do, and they did that, Rhett.
Exactly.
I would expect moves to be coming quickly to try and fill the places of Roy Hibbert.
Yeah, I think that it needs to happen soon because the big-name players will be gone.
They will. It's happening like at the blink of an eye that players that are getting signed.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Jordan switched his mind, and that's one thing you need to you can't just think that you have somebody on your team because like DeAndre Jordan just has been announced. He will be returning to the Clippers after he gave a verbal agreement to the Dallas Mavericks. So, just like that, things can change. So you need to lock down those players.
That's right. A player that Indiana didn't lock down that I want to talk to you about, Red, as we're talking off-season news here, is David West. The bad man that he is and the loyal key core centerpiece to this Pacers team that he has been, basically stabbed Indiana in the back. Leaving the Pacers to go to the Spurs for a veteran's minimum salary of $1.4 million, Rhett. Turning down, this is what I don't understand. He turned down $12 million from the Pacers to go to the Spurs for $1.4 million. And so you had a question for me about David West's decision, Rhett, and I'll answer it and then you answer it. So ask me. We talked about it.
Was that a slap in the face to Indiana for him leaving the Indiana Pacers for $1.3 million?
Total slap in the face. This was basically saying, Rhett, Indiana is not a contender this next year for him to get a title, so I'm going to San Antonio. I've seen the moves that they've made. It's the Spurs. I mean, there's no other way around it. The man turned down $10 million more to go to a team like that. It just goes to show, quite honestly, I think it was below David West, who had meant a lot to this city and had a great connection with the fans and all. It really shows and says what he's looking for, that he would just up and leave Indiana like that just for a title, who probably won't win it this next year, though they have a great team and he does help them. It's a total slap in the face. This Indiana team has meant everything to him, and he's meant a lot to this city. The Pacers are making major improvements. He would have helped that. But, I mean, let's face it, to turn down that money, yes, that's a slap in the face and blatantly says what he wants, Rhett, and that is to get a title, and that I don't think it's happening here, so I'm out. I think that for a man who had been here for several years, that's a poor way to go out. What do you think, Rhett? Slap in the face?
Well, yes, I think it was a slap in the face, but, you know, he can go there. It also, I think it was more of a gift to Indiana, him turning down that $12 million contract, because we wouldn't have been able to sign Ellis otherwise.
That's true. Freed up
so,
money.
Yeah, so a guy that averaged 12 points a game, basically getting paid $1 million, a point for his season high last year.
That's right.
You know, I think that, you know, it was a gift to Indiana, but it was also a slap in the face, because if he really wanted to win that title and wanted Indiana, he could have took the same deal with us.
Yeah, stay with the course. I mean, come on, that's really what it is. And yes, it frees up that money. It really does. But, you know, boy, will it be interesting playing them.
You know, here's the thing. He tried to take a get out of jail free card with saying that he was frustrated with the Roy Hibbert thing, how Indiana disrespected him. I think it was more of he didn't want to be here. Yeah. He didn't want to be here. He was just trying to make an excuse to get out of here.
That's covering his butt. That's what we call that.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of disrespectful.
Yeah,
but
disappointing from a man like that who had meant a lot to this team.
He's definitely above that.
Yeah, I'll say. And it's clear. It sounds like he had his mind made up before the season even ended. I mean, it sounded like he knew he was going to opt out, and that kind of came out a little bit, those reports, that he was going to opt out. And even talking with Tyler Smith when we had the interview several shows ago, Tyler Smith didn't sound all that confident that he was going to be back. So, you know, and maybe it was part of his plan all along. Like we were saying on Twitter, I am glad he did not become a Cavalier or a Knick. But at the same time, the fact that he became anything other than a Pacer again is rather disappointing. But you know what? Like you said, just look at it glass half full for the Pacers. It freed up a lot of money. He probably was going to decline more as he's getting older and more injury prone. Maybe it'll be a headache for the Spurs, Rhett.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't see the Spurs getting a title. So
no, not in the West, that's for sure. I mean,
yeah.
Let's face it, they'll be up there, but I don't see them getting that title, because it's going to be the Indiana Pacers that do, and really give a nice sucker punch to David West for leaving. That's always my favorite to see something like, oh, I regret
You left.
leaving.
Yeah, you
One of those
left, and you just got
situations.
put out of the playoffs. That's what I'm expecting to see.
That's
I'm
right.
hoping to see, and hopefully he regrets it.
I I agree with that. And it does what it did do is it did make the Spurs pretty much probably, if not number one, right up there, best free agency move so far this offseason. The Spurs have really dominated, and adding David West really was a big part to that. But I just can't believe that Tim Duncan is coming back for his 19th year. I just have to mention that. I mean, that's just insane to me. That this man's like Brett Favre. He can't retire.
He wants another. He wants another title.
Rhett, I'm going to put it into perspective. He's been playing in the NBA as long as you've been alive.
That is true.
That
Wow.
is insane. That is how long he has been playing in the NBA. That is so hard to believe. But, hey, David West was just another offseason move, Rhett. And then we know that the next best thing is the money that the Pacers have to sign somebody else. So let's talk about a couple names. Who else can Indiana sign and bring in? We've already mentioned the Jordan Hill. That's kind of a hopeful thing. It sounds like the Swaggy P talk is heating up and might be more realistic. I hope not. But, Rhett, knowing some of those other names out there and what Indiana has to play with, what do you think is realistic the Pacers get and bring in?
Well, I'm still hopeful on the Jordan Hill situation, but, I believe that Enes Kanter is still available.
He's decent.
He would be an interesting one. He would be an interesting one to pick up. But, there's not really many names out there that really just jump on my mind. We got Tristan Thompson. He signed, unfortunately. I would have loved to have him.
No kidding.
Yeah, that they weren't going to leave. They weren't going to let him. Josh Smith, I would not be a happy camper if they picked him up.
I would not either.
The guy should not shoot a basketball, in my own opinion. But Austin Rivers would be one that I would like to pick up. I love Austin Rivers.
Well, do you think it has to be a big man, or can it be a guard and a big man? How do you think it plays out with $10 million? You either get one free agent, you either get one good one, or you get two mediocre ones. Basically, how it plays out. What do you think Indiana needs to do here?
Well, here's how I think that it needs to go. First, worry about a big man, and then if you have money left over, Austin Rivers, I don't think that he's going to go for very much, but I think that, you can, if there's money left over, go after another guard, a point guard, and preferably, so we can have a deep point guard position, because that's what Indiana has lacked for a while. I think that he does play point guard / shooting guard right now, so he can play that point guard position, I believe. But, I think that he'd bring some great energy. The guy, he brings a spark, in my own opinion.
He does. I don't know. Here's the thing. There's more intriguing guards out there, it seems, than there are forward big men. And that's an issue because the Pacers need a big man to fill the void right now, Rhett. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one for that. There's not, as you said, not too many that jump out to me right now. The only one that jumps out to me is, Jordan Hill, but
that's the biggest one.
That's really just a shot in the dark. I mean, what good would come from him coming to Indiana, from leaving LA? I mean, you got a sunny place and coming to a cold, dreary place.
That's right. I mean,
it's definitely an interesting one.
No, that's very true. They do have. There is the option of Tyler Hansbrough. Indiana could bring back an ex-Pacer. It would be interesting. It would be a guy that they could get for cheap. You know, he still is young. He's only 6 years into the NBA. If they brought a player like Tyler Hansbrough back, Rhett, that would lead, the Pacers could probably sign him for $3 million. If they signed him for $3 million, they've got $7 million to get a nice guard. That's two for one.
I totally spaced a player that I would actually like, Kyle, and that would be Carlos Boozer.
Carlos Boozer would be a good one.
Yeah, he would be a pretty decent one. The guy, if he stays healthy, he'd be a good one, especially to bring off the bench, or potentially start. The guy, he brings a lot of energy, and he can grab rebounds, and he's a good defender.
He is,
from what I think. So, he played with that Chicago Bulls team for a while, and he was under Tom Thibodeau, and I'll tell you what, play for Tom Thibodeau, and you'll learn how to play defense one way or another.
That's very true. That is very true. Well, there is a couple players, a couple veterans, Reggie Evans and Glenn Baby Davis. What do you think about a couple of them?
I don't like either of them.
I saw that coming.
Yeah, I never liked Reggie Evans, and Glenn Babyface Davis. I think he's a big baby. And
pun intended.
Yeah, and I don't think he's a very good player. But that's just me being a hypocrite.
Basically.
But yeah, I don't want to see either one of those players on the team.
What do you think about this? The Red Rocket for the Spurs is available. Matt Bonner, who can shoot lights out from downtown and adds great size. Very slow, poor defender. But he does play his heart out, and he can shoot the lights out. What do you think about the Red Rocket? A guy they could probably get for $2 million or $3 million.
I don't want anybody that makes up the excuse of having an injury because they texted using an iPhone. Oh
That's
my
a good
God.
one. That's a good one, Rhett.
What kind of idiot says that he got his injury because of texting on his iPhone?
That's not good. That's not a good.
That is pathetic. But he's awful at defense, but he does bring some energy to the team.
That's right.
But I mean,
then there's a guy that I can't stand, and that's Kendrick Perkins. He's available as well, the veteran. What do you think about him?
Well, you just like naming off people I don't like, don't you?
It seems like it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of him. I didn't like him when he was at OKC. He always looks mad.
He does. He always looks like he wants to kill someone.
Yeah, but I don't think he's very good. That obviously why he sat the bench all year.
That's right.
But yeah, I would like, if they're going to bring in somebody, they might as well try and bring in somebody that's going to bring some good vibes to the team, not just somebody just to fill the spot.
That's right. That's right. They do. They're now switching to the guards a little because that's pretty much the extent of the big man. So the Pacers don't have much to choose from. But if they get the right one, they could get one for cheap. Kind of a veteran for cheap. Let's see if they can make the right move there. What about Norris Cole, a guard? The ex-Heat that we couldn't stand when he played for them is actually a decent player who the Pacers could probably get for a decent amount, and he's young. What do you think about Norris Cole?
Well, he is an ex-Heat. I don't like it, but he is a great player. I wouldn't say great, but he's a decent player.
That's right.
Let's not get carried away. That could come off the bench, but I'm still stuck on, forward/center first. I don't see a need for a bringing in a guard first.
I don't either. I just think that they will have to get a guard because I don't think that they're going to be able to get a big man. There's just not enough out there to choose from. So I feel like it's slim pickings. They're going to have enough money left over after getting a big man. Unless they can land like a $7 million a year deal for a Jordan Hill, I just don't see it happening. I don't think Larry Bird wants to go slack off with this opportunity.
Kyle, what would you think of a Darrell Wright
Honestly, I think that it would be an all right pickup. I think that it wouldn't be sexy by any means,
I
but
hope not.
it would be okay. But I don't think it's the best move that they could get. What do you think about it?
I think that it wouldn't be a bad pickup, as you were saying, but it wouldn't be like top of the picks. If my preference, I'm still holding out for Jordan Hill.
That's right.
But
Main
that's definitely somebody that I would take after that. But one person that he's a free agent. I think they need to sign Luis Scola back. So
That's right,
that that
Luis
should be that should be
Scola.
one of. And so far I have not heard any chatter about that.
I haven't either. I have not either. We will see, because there will be some more chatter about it, and we'll be able to discuss that in future shows as the off-season news continues for the Pacers. We will continue talking about it. But, Rhett, let's transition into this last segment and leave the off-season news there and talk about something that's been very exciting for the Pacers, and that's been the Summer League. As we get to see our young guys, our new draft picks, how are they playing? Well, I got to tell you, it's a good thing these don't count, because the Pacers stink in getting
They sure
wins
do.
in the Summer League. But they get some good performances from these young players. Let's talk about that first game last week. Go figure, it started off, they kicked off the Summer League against the Heat, and go figure the Pacers lost 92-76. Didn't just lose, they got embarrassed. But
Every game.
let me tell you something. Miles Turner showed that, hey, maybe I'm an all right 11th pick in the NBA draft. This dude scored 20 points, leading all scorers, and went 8 of 11 shooting, Rhett. Had 8 rebounds and 3 block shots. What do you think about his performance?
I'm very impressed. I did say that maybe it'll probably take a couple of years before he develops, but if he brings this type of energy into the NBA in this actual games, I'll tell you what, this man is going to be fierce.
He
And
will.
he will bring a great potential for that Indiana Pacers team, especially starting wise. He could find himself some starting minutes if he keeps this up.
Oh, he sure can. Basically, assistant coach Dan Burke, who's coaching the Summer League, said about his performance, he said, that was the one bright spot. He looks confident. He looks like he belongs. I know it's Summer League, but he had a haluva first day. Oh, wait. That's funny. I've never seen that in one word together. It's actually hell of a. I know it's Summer League.
Taluva.
I've never seen it one word together. I know it's Summer League, but he had hell of a first day. And he'll get better. And Turner said before the game, I was nervous because it was my first taste of professional basketball, but I felt good, and it was good to get the jitters out, but we didn't win, and that's the bottom line. How about Jarrell Eddy adding 16 points, and Trent Lockett adding 10 off the bench, and Pacers veterans Solomon Hill and Shane Weddington, not so much. Rough days. Hill was 1 for 10 from the floor and had 4 points. Whittington was 3 of 8 with 8 points and 6 rebounds, so much better than Hill's was. But I got to tell you what, Solomon Hill better step it up.
Yeah, you're playing against people that are not even in the NBA yet. Most of them are not even in the NBA yet, and you're out there getting your butt kicked. That's pathetic.
It is. And Burke said turnovers, loose balls, every rebound on the ground they got. This wasn't Pacers basketball. They were the aggressors, and we weren't. That basically sums it up. But, Rhett, that is so disappointing to see a guy who was supposed to take over Paul George's role, and he made 1 bucket in his first Summer League game in the offseason. Yeah. It just makes me confident in what I said about him being a bust of a pick 2 years ago. I mean, this guy has some serious performing to do for Indiana, or
exactly.
this is his last year and he's gone. That's the way I'm looking at it. Just a poor performance. Game 1, Pacers lose to the Heat. Let's move on to their second game. in the Summer League. They lost to the Orlando Magic, 85-76, Rhett. This game, though, once again, highlighted by Miles Turner having himself a good game. Basically, the man finished with 13 points, 9 rebounds, Rhett. Oh, and your favorite stat, how about 6 blocks? What a beast. This guy just keeps impressing.
I know.
What do you think of his performance in this one?
That is great. 6 blocks, blocking is that's an incredible stat to me. I love it. And having a guy, after Roy Hibbert leaving, being the big rim protector, seeing that Miles Turner is showing that he can do just that, that is fantastic. And also, not only blocking, but he can grab a freaking rebound.
Oh,
and
sure
he's 3
can.
inches shorter.
Isn't that something beautiful to see that we didn't see from Hibbert?
I know. And that is one thing that, really stood out to me. 13 points, not the best
No.
not the best, but he picked it up everywhere else.
He did, and sometimes that's what has to happen. If you're not having a great night scoring, you pick it up somewhere else. We've seen it constantly. How about from our best defender on the team, Paul George? If he's ever struggling offensively, he makes up for it on defense. I mean, you got to contribute to a team. If you can't score, pass the ball. Can't pass the ball, rebound the ball. Steal. Do what it takes. Play hard. That
Exactly.
makes a difference. Effort. And that's exactly what Pacers assistant coach Dan Burke had to say. I liked the effort, but we had a lot of lack of discipline on defense, and we need to do a better job playing through Miles Turner more. How about that? Playing through Miles Turner more in his second Summer League game. This man, Rhett, may just prove all of us wrong a lot quicker than we expected. I mean,
exactly.
Incredibly impressive. But the Pacers were in this one. They were in this game. They took a 61-57 lead in the fourth quarter, but their poor shooting and Orlando's good shooting really did them in. The Pacers shot 31% to Orlando's 53%. And Orlando was 10 of 11 from the free throw line. That's going to beat you. And the Pacers have to get over that. And Rhett, how many times did we see that this past season for Indiana, not being able to close out games?
Oh, it was the story of the Indiana Pacers' life.
It really was.
And, now let's step off Miles Turner for just a second and hop over to Shane Whittington.
Yes, let's do it.
The guy had 16 points and 7 rebounds.
Led the Pacers.
Yeah. What did you think about him?
I think that he had a great game. I like to see it. He showed the shooting potential that he has with us. This is what, trying to make this team be on this Indiana team. Can you be a part of this team going forward? You have to have performances like this. And he started to get it going. He was struggling for a little while early, but then he started to hit. And this could be a huge weapon for Indiana if he can do this consistently. We've seen it. Could he be a Chris Copeland coming off the bench? It's very possible. I was impressed with how he shot the ball, Rhett, but I was almost more impressed because I wanted to see him in his debut. How about Joe Young, the protege at point guard for the Pacers, the second-round pick? He scored 9 points, all in the first quarter, and he had 4 assists. Basically what he did, said Coach Burke, he showed skills and some good signs, good promise and passion. He struggled some, but he has had only about 10 minutes of live practice. Okay, that's impressive to me for his first NBA.
He has been sick.
Yes.
So that is why he missed his first game.
Exactly.
And as we're going to talk into the next game, he definitely picked it up.
He did. And on that performance, he said, today I was just trying to get a rhythm as I haven't had much practice. I thought I did pretty well, but we definitely have some things to work on. Today was a learning experience. I like humble guys like this, Rhett. This is Indiana Pacers basketball who know that they have things to improve on. And that
exactly.
I like to see out of the young guy. And I got to tell you, I think he's going to do a great job, Brett. I really do, going forward, just like Miles Turner. Now, the Pacers did play without 6'7" forward James Nunnally. He broke his right thumb in practice, and he's going to miss the remainder of the Summer League. Another guy the Pacers had a chance to keep their eye on and see if he could prove anything. That's an unfortunate loss for them, so they'll just have to pick it up. Next man up there.
Exactly. You know, you gotta move on.
That's right.
That's unfortunate for him, but it gives another guy a shot.
That's right, and it happens, and they did move on tonight. Earlier tonight, they played a game against the Detroit Pistons, third Summer League game, and they suffered their biggest loss. Got blown out 90-65. That's a 25-point loss, in case any of you can't do math. That, Rhett, is rather pathetic. I'm getting a little tired of losing.
Yeah.
But we had some promise here, again, stats-wise, from our young men, and you mentioned it. Holy Joseph Young. 25 points, 5 assists. He did have 4 turnovers, but that's going to happen. He played 18 minutes, and he was
100% from the three-point
Actually,
line.
I'm sorry. He played almost 32 minutes. I was mixing him up with Eddie. He played almost 32 minutes. He was 9 of 15 from the floor, made all of his threes, 3 of 3 from downtown, made all of his free throws, 4 of 4, Rhett. That is impressive. That stood out to me in this game.
Watching him today was just incredible. The guy, he has incredible hands, and, you know, as I think that he's going to be a point guard in the NBA because he's too short to play
That's right.
shooting guard, but he might, you know. But he's got incredible hands.
He does.
And that's what the Indiana Pacers need, somebody that can take the ball when it's, you know, when it's crunch time.
Exactly.
And those 4 turnovers, that really doesn't mean much to me right now because he hasn't had much practice with this little squad. So, you know, he hasn't got the rhythm down really, I don't think. So I think that he had a fantastic game.
He did. And how about not just him having a fantastic game, how about the number 1 draft pick, again having a great game? 23 points did Miles Turner have. He had 8 total rebounds, 9 of 16 from the floor in almost 32 minutes, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, Rhett. This man keeps putting it together. Second 20-plus point performance in 3 games. Miles Turner. What do you think about his impressive performance?
Great, you know, it's impressive to see that, you know, not only one game, but he's done it twice. He's had 3 blocks, 6 blocks, and 4 blocks. So, you know, it's incredible.
It really is. Just hats out to those 2 guys. Other than that, Rhett, everyone else was pathetic. Another guy included, once again, Solomon Hill. Terrible game. Played 27 minutes, made 1 shot. He was 1 of 4 from the field, 0 of 1 from downtown. He had 2 points, Rhett. 2 points. Solomon Hill is going in the wrong direction.
It's pathetic because it's a summer league.
It really is. It really is. It's very pathetic. And you know what leads to a 25-point loss? Shooting 39% from the field as a team, 20% from downtown, shooting 63% free throws, getting 6 total rebounds, 14 turnovers.
Yeah, it's just not, you know, the team, I'm not a fan of the people that they really brought in, the Indiana Pacers, but, you know.
They're having to make do right now is what they're having to do.
Yeah, they're having to make do. And, you know, they got like 3 or 4 players that can actually play, in my own opinion. And
2 of them are our draft picks. Man, are they playing well.
Yeah, and one of them you would expect to play good because he's an NBA basketball player.
That's right, who did have a couple nice performances, and now he's looking like Minnie Mouse. It's not good.
Tweety Bird.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
You know, it's just pathetic, and, you know, they should be winning these games if you know, Solomon Hill could actually play basketball.
Exactly.
But he's not. So they're having to make do with these players. And one person that really has stood out to me as being one of the worst on the team is Christian Watford. I think the guy is awful.
Oh,
I think the guy doesn't even deserve a spot in the summer league.
Yeah, he got another chance with the Pacers, and boy, he didn't make the most of it.
Yeah, he definitely should not have a spot out there. The guy played in Israel for a while, but he's definitely not NBA material.
He isn't, and I didn't see him panning out from IU because he's a slow, sluggish player. That's what he gave off to me. He hit that one big shot against Kentucky, but not much else to his career, even college career. I mean, he basically is too slow on defense, slow developing shot, really slow all around, just doesn't give the effort, so he won't pan out. But that was it for the Indiana Summer League, Rhett. More games to come for them. Let's hope they can get a win in their next one.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That would be nice, and we will talk about that on the next shows, as continuing the Summer League and off-season news. But as for us and tonight, that is it for the Pacers show. Just like that, an hour's gone by, Rhett. When we get talking Pacers basketball, it flies.
Incredible.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar.
Oh, guess we got that one mixed up.
Yeah, just a little bit, but Rhett, what a way to go out. Nothing like another Space Jam reference, eh?
It's great. Love it.
It is great. Well, to recap what was talked about on the show, we discussed the Pacers' latest offseason news, Roy Hibbert, David West, and we talked about the first 3 Summer League games. That is all we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning into our show. Feel free to leave any comments. Tweet and retweet the show at Kyle M. Newman, at Rhett Hensley, and at Indiana Pacers Talk. We will be back at it next Wednesday by 8 Eastern Time. That's the goal. Unless something comes up, then we may have to have a little bit of a detour. But we'll get to it. I'm Kyle Newman.
And I'm Rhett Hensley.
Have a good night, and go Pacers.
Go Pacers.